You are standing in a hospital hallway at 2 a.m. Your father just had a fall. The
Can you
nurse
confirm
hands you
his
a
full name?
clipboard and asks one question. Who has power of attorney? And in that exact moment, your bank balance stops being a number you check on an app and becomes the only thing standing between your family and chaos. 3 people are about to walk into that same hallway with 3 completely different bank balances, and only one of them sleeps that night. My name is POV, and if you have ever assumed more money just means a bigger version of the same life, stay for the next few minutes, because that assumption is about to cost you more than you think. Subscribe if you want the version of this conversation nobody sends you a brochure for. Let's meet the 3 people who are about to teach you everything. Frank, 63, $500,000, still driving for a rideshare app twice a week because he likes the conversation, not the money, or so he tells himself. Denise, 58, $2 million, retired early, still checks her portfolio before she checks her texts. And Marcus, 67, $10 million, who has not personally opened a bank statement in 4 years because someone else does that for him now. Remember that detail about Marcus. It is the most important sentence in this entire video, and you will not understand why for another 10 minutes. Here's the frame that changes everything, so hold on to it. Your net worth is not a volume knob on the same life. It is a border crossing. Every time you cross one of these lines, you do not get more of what you had. You get handed a completely different rulebook, a different set of enemies, and a different definition of what can ruin you. At Frank's number, the enemy is the market. At Denise's number, the enemy is the calendar, specifically how long she lives. At Marcus's number, the enemy is not the market or the calendar. It is his own family, and I promise you that one lands harder than it sounds. 3 things I am making you wait for, so you don't skip ahead. There is a specific age where running out of money becomes mathematically impossible to fix, and it is younger than you think. There is a tax bracket that punishes you for being healthy. And there is a number where your children start fighting over you while you are still alive to watch it happen. All 3 are coming. First, the floor you're actually standing on. The average American between 55 and 64 has roughly $185,000 saved for retirement, according to Federal Reserve survey data. Not the headline number, the actual median household. So, if Frank's $500,000 sounds modest to you, understand that it puts him ahead of most of the country walking into retirement. That is not motivational filler. That is the actual baseline you're being measured against. And almost nobody tells you where you really stand before they start selling you a plan. Now let's do Frank's math honestly, because this is where most retirement content lies to you by omission. At a 4% withdrawal rate, $500,000 produces $20,000 a year. Add Social Security. The average retired worker benefit is around $23,000 a year, and Frank is living on roughly $43,000. That is not poverty. That is a real, workable life in most of this country. But watch what he doesn't have, a margin. If the market drops 25% in year 1 of his retirement, Frank isn't having a bad year. He is permanently resetting the ceiling of the rest of his life because every dollar he pulls out at the bottom of that crash never gets the chance to recover. This is sequence of returns risk, and at Frank's number, it isn't a talking point. It is the single event that decides whether he dies with dignity or dies afraid. Here's what nobody tells Frank. The tax code is quietly on his side. Married couples can realize substantial long-term capital gains completely tax-free as long as their total taxable income stays under roughly $94,000. Frank could sell appreciated stock, pocket real profit, and hand the IRS nothing. That's not a loophole. That's the printed rate sitting there unused by almost everyone who qualifies for it, because nobody at Frank's income level has an advisor whispering it in his ear. Rich people get whispered to. Frank gets a pamphlet. Now Denise, $2 million, and the first thing that happens is her whole relationship with risk flips. At 4%, she's pulling $80,000 a year plus Social Security, putting her north of $100,000 in income. She has crossed a border, and on the other side of it, the tax code stops ignoring her. That 0% capital gains bracket Frank lived inside, gone. She's paying real rates now on real gains. And here's the appointment she can't skip: required minimum distributions. Starting at 73, the government forces withdrawals from her traditional retirement accounts whether she needs the income or not. On a $2 million IRA, that forced withdrawal can push $80,000 or more of taxable income onto her return in a single year, stacking on top of everything else, dragging even more of her Social Security into taxable territory. Because the thresholds that decide that $25,000 for a single filer, $32,000 for a couple, haven't been adjusted for inflation since 1984. Nobody in Washington updated the math. You are still living by 1984 numbers in a world where a cart of groceries costs what a used car used to, and this is where the punishment for being healthy shows up. Medicare charges you more for the exact same coverage if your income crosses certain thresholds 2 years earlier. It's called IRMAA, and it isn't a slope, it's a cliff. $1 over the line and you get pushed into the entire next surcharge bracket for the full year, adding over $1,000 per person in premiums for a single dollar of extra income. Denise's forced IRA withdrawal doesn't just cost her in taxes. It can trigger a Medicare penalty 2 years later that she never sees coming for a decision she didn't even choose to make. That's the part of this story nobody puts in the brochure, because nobody wants to admit the system fines you for living long enough to need it. But here's Denise's real win, the one worth celebrating. Sequence risk stops being fatal at her number. If the market falls apart, she trims her spending from $80,000 to $65,000 and keeps living. Frank cutting from $43,000 to $30,000 is a different life. Denise cutting the same percentage is a different vacation. That gap, the space between different life and different vacation, is the entire value of crossing from 1 million and under Frank to 2 million Denise. It's not luxury. It's shock absorption. Now here's the age I promised you, the one where the math stops being fixable. Run the numbers on any retirement portfolio, and there's a specific window, usually the first 5 to 7 years after you stop working, where a bad market does irreversible damage. After that window closes, your portfolio has essentially locked in its trajectory. This means the actual riskiest years of your entire retirement are the first ones, not the last ones. The opposite of what most people assume, because most people spend their whole working life bracing for risk at the end, when the real danger is sitting at the starting line. Now, Marcus, $10 million. And here's where I need you to lean in, because this is not the flex you think it is. At 4%, Marcus pulls $400,000 a year, and Social Security is now a rounding error, less than 6% of his income. The tax machinery closes in hard. Required distributions on a portfolio his size can force out well over $300,000 of ordinary income a year whether he wants it or not, landing him in the highest federal bracket permanently, plus an additional 3.8% surtax on investment income above $250,000. A threshold that, again, has never once been adjusted for inflation since it was written. But here's the twist nobody warns you about, the one I mentioned back at that hospital hallway. The federal estate tax exemption sits around $13.9 million per person as of this year. So, Marcus, on paper, owes the federal government nothing when he dies. Every headline he reads tells him he's safe, except roughly a dozen states run their own estate tax, completely separate from the federal one, with exemption thresholds as low as $1 million in some states. Retire in the wrong state with $10 million, and your estate can owe a 6 or 7-figure state tax bill that has nothing to do with the federal exemption. Everyone assumes protects you. Your kids pay it. You are not there to explain why. And this is the real cost of Marcus's number. Not taxes, not fees, but family. When there is enough money on the table, siblings start negotiating who visits more, who gets named in the will, who deserves the lake house. Elder law attorneys will tell you, off the record, that the ugliest family disputes don't happen at Frank's number. They happen at Marcus's. Money below a certain threshold gets shared out of necessity. Money above it gets fought over out of entitlement. That's not a moral failing in rich families. It's math colliding with human nature. And it happens on a schedule you can almost set a clock to. So, what's the actual price tag nobody quotes you for climbing from Frank's number to Marcus's? Saving aggressively at a strong market return. The jump from $500,000 to $2 million takes roughly a decade of disciplined investing. The jump from $2 million to $10 million takes another 15 to 20 years on top of that for most people who aren't running a business or catching a windfall. That's not a dollar figure. That's 25 years of your one life spent climbing, while your knees and your friendships and your patience for climbing quietly age alongside the portfolio. Nobody invoices you for those years because nobody can. You just spend them.